All right. Beach have come to the attention of my office. We now live in a time where our citizens, taxpayers, and the lifeblood of this city do not feel safe in their own streets because crime and drugs rule those once civilized avenues and gang activity rules the day. And I am sensitive to their needs, to their desire for greater law enforcement. Our law-abiding citizens live in fear behind iron bars designed to keep the predators of society out while making decent people prisoners to lawlessness. It's been suggested that longer prison sentences and more jails would at least help in stemming the tide of the anarchy which now runs much of the city. This is out of the question. If we put more people in jail, think about it. Where would I put all the convicted felons and condemned murderers that I've rescued from capital punishment states like Oklahoma? No, more prisons are not the answer. Tonight, I will sign an executive order requiring the New York City Department of Health at taxpayer expense to immediately begin the implementation of a strategy for the distribution of gang condoms. Safe rape is an idea whose time has come. Safe rape, think about it. Rape without all the ancillary worries. To paraphrase Surgeon General Joycelyn Elders, our young people already know what to do under the boardwalk. As their elected leaders, it is incumbent upon us to teach them to rape responsibly. The recent sexual assault upon the Coney Island jogger leaves me speechless, but we can all be grateful that at least these youths were not smoking cigarettes in public. Thank you very much, Governor. I appreciate that. Now on
To do a follow-up on the great Frank's call, you know, you're the only one that I've heard in recent history stick up for Tail Gunner Joe. So this latest revelation about him, and this vindicates you and those of us who always admired Joe McCarthy, and he would be even more right today in what he was saying, because Hollywood and the entertainment world is full of left-wing scum. And you know, Jay, on the previous show before you, I heard the host say that we should send weapons to the Bosnians because they're being slaughtered by the Serbs. After all, these are helpless people and they deserve a chance. Well, that same mentality, all during the 1960s and the 70s when we tried to fight oppressive regimes in the communist world, an entity that was responsible for the death of millions, hundreds, tens of millions of people all through this century, this same left-wing mentality opposed us doing the same thing that she now wants us to do for those people over there. So once again, the left is so bankrupt, Jay, because they just have no steady, consistent political belief. They change from hour to hour. They don't know what the heck they believe in or what they want. And I also heard that vicious, evil Hilly, who always calls up and talks about events that are covered up when he thinks a white person is responsible. Well, there's been so many events, Jay. For instance, in October of 1989, I remember when a group of construction workers were attacked by 20 blacks when they helped the police capture a drug dealer. And then you had 3 blacks abducted a Hispanic woman in February of 1992 and held her for 14 hours and called her racial names. That was never spoken about. You had a group of blacks attack some whites with bricks in November of 1989, shouting, "Get Whitey." We didn't hear too much about that. And you talk about horrible cases, Jay. I remember when a vicious group of blacks went on a criminal spree in Howard Beach, the original Howard Beach case, breaking into homes of white people, robbing, beating, and terrorizing. These original Howard Beach racial attacks didn't receive 1/10 of the publicity as when Michael Griffith ran in front of that car on the Belt Parkway. And in the late 1970s, you may recall this, Jay, there was a group of blacks that invaded a diner in Bethpage, Long Island, where you'll find mostly white patrons. They locked the doors, pistol whipped and robbed patrons, and forced them to perform sexual acts with strangers. This was one of the worst crimes in the history of New York, but it's been virtually forgotten. So there's plenty of more that I've got on file, Jay. So anytime that this vicious hater, who I find nothing funny about, anytime he wants to challenge and bring up incidences of cases in which whites were involved that he thinks weren't reported, he doesn't stand a chance if he wants to debate.
All right, what did he say on Lynn? I missed that.
He was talking about the so-called officer that tried to sexually attack 3 other police officers, and nothing was said about it. I mean, that really compares to Yankel Rosenbaum, doesn't it?
Well, I don't know about that. I don't think it was other police officers. I think they were cab drivers.
Well, whoever it was. But
a very bizarre case. Is there any? Why is that? Why is that so important? That case, I don't understand.
Compared to the vicious attacks of blacks upon whites daily in this city.
Well, but what was this, racial? You mean it was a white policeman who raped black cab drivers?
I guess that's what Vicious Hilly is trying to make out of it, because it was a white police officer. He thinks that because it wasn't reported, or I don't know how he heard about it if it wasn't reported. But the incidents that I spot were much more vicious, much more virulent, and you heard about them maybe once.
Well, the reason why you heard about them once is that they are followed one upon the other by even more ghastly, horrible, antisocial acts. So they tend to be forgotten. John, I have to move along.
Long since dead, buried, and forgotten. When historians can look back on this century and write from a truly unprejudiced, unbiased opinion, the greatness of Richard Nixon will truly come through. And I'd like to expound on 2 things. One, further on his opening of mainland China to the West. Jay, you're old enough to remember when it was called Red China, when it was that mysterious closed society, when they used the phrase the bamboo curtain.
Frank, I still call it Red China. But go ahead.
When at that time, and if anybody, all you have to do is rent a movie like The Manchurian Candidate to understand how we viewed that nation. And Richard Nixon's going there. When he walked off the plane in Beijing and met Mao Zedong, he said, "I am here in the interest of the people of the United States of America." At that point, he began to lay the foundation for the destruction of communism, because he played up the major contradiction in communism. You know, Jay, the Marxists always talk about the contradictions of capitalism. What was the greatest contradiction of Marxism? When 2 socialist nations, China and the Soviet Union, were nearly at each other's throat over territory. And by playing up that contradiction, by opening China to the West, he so weakened eventually the Soviet Union that it brought about its collapse in its client states throughout the world. And Jay, this man was the focus. You talk about the counterculture. This man was the focus of the hatred.
That's right.
The sickness, the mean-spiritedness of these people. Look at All in the Family, which is a time capsule, or any Norman Lear comedy of the 70s, and they always made this man the butt of the most angry, nasty, smarmy, sarcastic remarks. Who'll remember Norman Lear 100 years from now? How will history judge him? Richard Nixon was a dour individual. He wasn't a smiling, pretty boy like Jack Kennedy. But if you were to compare what Richard Nixon did when he ended the draft, Jay, he pulled the rug out of those phony protesters who couldn't give a damn about the people of Southeast Asia, but really wanted to save their own behinds from being shipped to Vietnam. He exposed them, and when he did that, he domestically exposed the counterculture. And when you see these rats and pigs of the counterculture, you always can remember what they did to this man, and his legend will last far beyond theirs.
Hopefully, Frank. Hopefully it will.
Thank you.
But every day our culture erodes a little more. And as I said at the beginning, we cannot determine where we're going as a nation until we finally decide who we are as a nation. Richard Nixon had a concept of what the United States was and who the people of the United States were. I'm not certain that the current president has such a secure concept of the identity of his own nation that he purports to lead.
Well, you know, Jay, when they write about Watergate, if you look at some of the headlines, it's so similar to what's happening in Whitewater, and to see Hillary Clinton up there and the lies and the contempt she has for the public with the nonsense that she spews. Richard Nixon was run out of Washington because the counterculture and the left saw in him all that represented greatness in America. When they drove him from Washington, that began the fall of this country.
Thank you, Frank. Good night. Of making $26 million a week, raping American citizens out of their money by taking advantage of their consuming addiction to gambling. And they don't even have to pay taxes on that $26 million a week. That's 26, and figure what that is a year, and figure all the other phony Indian tribes
that are raking it in because the American people are too weak, too indolent, too stultified, too unconscious to avoid being suckered in to a compulsive gambling addiction. I mean, what do the Indians produce? What is produced when compulsive gambling is ordained by the state? What is produced when OTB offices open in your neighborhood? Just a lot of gnarled faces, stooped over, broken bodies and broken spirits, cigarette-stained fingernails, hair growing out of old men's nose. Just a haven, an accumulation of losers. And yet, the Indians are acting like a big magnet wherever they're building these casinos that are free of federal supervision and free of the requirement to pay taxes to the people of the United States. $26 million a week tax-free just from that one Indian gambling den in Ledyard, Connecticut. And they prey on the weakness and stupidity of the formerly great American people. But the bottom line, and the most outlandish, the most blatant insult, is that the Indians have the best of both worlds, because I did not know before I read it in the newspaper over the weekend that although for taxation purposes they are not considered American citizens, for taxation purposes their lands are not considered as if they were in the United States. We've gone through this hoax of, according to them, so-called sacred Indian lands, where they stay there and use a vacuum cleaner to suck the assets out of weak-willed Americans whose moral fiber are too flabby to resist the solicitations to tax-free gambling on Indian grounds. But at the same time, ladies and gentlemen, the Indians have full citizenship to vote in the United States. Well, my feeling is this: if they're too good to pay taxes, if they're too good to consider themselves part of the United States, then they're too good to vote the way American citizens vote. And I do not believe it is correct to accord them the franchise to vote as if they were American citizens. You can't have it both ways. On WABC, this is Jay Diamond. Be right. From Staten Island, a man who never has a problem expressing himself. Tell me, did you understand him?
No, I thought he was trying to be over
Yeah, what was he doing?
philosophical.
Yeah, and yet, so tell me something. Do you think I was too mean to him?
No.
All right, because you're criticizing me. Well, he's laughing. He's laughing.
No, but I thought you were mean to the other woman before that. The one who welcomed you back, and then you said, what have you got to say?
Oh, stop it. You're picking on every little shtickler. What do you want?
Listen, welcome back.
Thanks. What do you want to say?
Yeah, that's it. That's the Jay Diamond, I know. Isn't it amazing, Jay, how racist Sharpton can go from Africa to Staten Island pretending to be concerned about blacks, but really just looking to keep his name in the news and looking for ways to discredit those American institutions that hold our society together, namely the police. But he was nowhere to be found when his fellow racist, quote, brothers, you know, the brothers that murder each other daily and sell drugs to one another and then call each other brothers. He was nowhere to be found when those brothers were attacking that white woman under the boardwalk, or when those black racists singled out white victims at the Glenwood Housing Project. And you know, Jay, last Wednesday, the police made a raid on drug paraphernalia shops in Harlem and Washington Heights. And the community that's always complaining about drugs being brought into their neighborhood, they attacked the police with rocks and bottles, even though 9 truckloads, some 32 million crack vials, were seized.
They had to be saved by the Nation of Islam.
Yeah.
That's true. The cops had to be saved by the Nation of Islam.
Yeah?
Who, to their credit, did come to the defense of the police. I saw that. I had mentioned that a little earlier to the guy, the policeman Tony, who'd called. Yeah, I remember. That was a week ago. And that's already forgotten in light of the... You see, in light of the latest attack against the police in Park Hill. You see, John, you know what's happening. The temperature now is averaging above 65, 70 degrees, which means that it's time to come out and cause, quote, disturbances.
That's right, especially with Rudy in office.
Exactly. I mean, this fix was in at on November 3rd, 1993. The militants decided that we would have to be punished for electing Rudolph Giuliani. And there is the intention to start a major incident. Mm-hmm. I just hope that it does not start, but if it does, I hope it's immediately suppressed.
Well, that's quite a dilemma for those racist blacks in the community. They won't know whether to hate the nation or the cult of Islam first, or the police. See, that's your law-abiding people who are always talking about outsiders bringing drugs into the neighborhood. But when the police went to get rid of them, that's how they were treated. And you know, as far as Staten Island goes, Jay, if David Dinkins were still in office, he would have told the community, don't let those 2 or 3 bad apples influence you, before he had any information. Rudy, on the other hand, said, hold your opinions until we finish the investigation, which was the right thing to do. Now, this thug who croaked got what eventually all violent lawbreakers get. It's a matter of time, Jay. These thugs put themselves in danger by the very nature of their own activities. They had signs out there on Staten Island, stop the racist police.
Really?
See how doctrinaire they are? That these anarchists...
Well, they're not interested in the truth. They're interested in fomenting a political crisis. You know that.
Yeah.
They are not interested in life or death or right or wrong. They're not interested in justice even. All they want, it's agitprop in the classic tradition of Marxism. They're interested in fomenting crises, in starting incidents so they can manipulate the people into being angry and being better revolutionaries, John.
Right, they ignored the fact that there were 2 black cops involved in this incident. And you know, Jay, during the Gulf War, when I was out here on Staten Island, I was demonstrating, you know, with those patriotic Americans, and the press do stir up trouble. They were there at the demonstrations telling us to look angry and yell louder so they could get it on tape. And I stopped the guy dead in his tracks. I said, listen, don't conjure up anything here. Let the people be the way they are. You are troublemakers. So they do look to cause trouble, and they're not interested in what's good for our society either. But this is just another case of blacks yelling about the police, not doing anything to help them. And then when they try and help them, it turns out that what they really want to do is just discredit that institution that holds our society together, hoping the society will fall apart so that they can eventually take over and turn this into another African nation.
Well, I think where you get people mad at you is that when you talk about these things, you refer to blacks as though they're monolithic. And in the same newspaper article, there's 2 men pictured in today's New York Times, John. One is a guy named Robert Collins, who is busy with his Malcolm sweatshirt and his scraggly beard and Sharpton hairstyle, and he is denigrating the police. And then there's an American man who happens to be a black man named Willie Barrett, who says that he supports the police in the neighborhood.
Not all, Jay. I say most. There was a recent poll conducted by a research firm for a leading legal weekly showed that 2/3 of blacks surveyed recognized the validity of William Kunk's
right.
theory of the black rage defense for Colin Ferguson.
No, that's why it's so frightening. I agree with you. A tremendous number of people in the black community have been suckered into this radical ideology by these troublemaking militants.
Yes, we're not dealing with the handful that's always spoken about. And as far as those stinking Indians go, they didn't own half of the lands they said they did. They occupied them in name only. These lands were uninhabitable.
I'm with you, and I'm not a gambler. I don't like gambling. All right, thanks, John.
Thank you.
Got to run. On WABC. So, coincidentally, WABC has been testing out this new type of programming using computer-simulated voice technology. Now, what follows is an experimental example of what a J. Diamond Yankee broadcast listener phone call program might sound like. There's ball 4, and Mattingly trots down to first base. Okay, Jimmy, you were saying you have a tape, a wiretap, of a conversation between Al Sharpton and Vladimir Zhirinovsky, the renowned communist. And you're going to, Tartable swings and misses, strike 1, and you're going to play this tape for us now. Now, you say this tape is scratchy, but we will be able to hear Sharpton say the words, curveball, low and away, ball 1. Sharpton will say the words, pass the horseradish, Boris, very clearly at least twice. Well, okay, Jimmy, why don't you play this amazing, highly scandalous recording? Jimmy, fastball strike, 2-1. Jimmy, we're ready. You can roll the tape. Hello, Jimmy. What happened, Bill? Did we lose him? Fouled off. Count holds at 2-1. He was disconnected. You mean he was, well, where was he calling from? Bill, I have a very eerie feeling about hit high and far. Foul. Over in the left field stands. Hey, Jimmy, if you're out there, call in on the other line. Is that all right, Bill? Okay. I'm a little worried about Jimmy. I mean, it's very ground ball toward the hole. Base hit to left field. Mattingly pulls up at second base. Hey, it looks like Tartable's out of his hitting slump. Let's see, that's 5 hits in his last 8 at-bats. Back to the phones. Hello, Hillary, and let me say what a pleasure. No, it's more like a sensation, an arousal of the auricular cavities to feel, to sensate the verbal caresses of your voluptuous vocal tones. Ah, what luscious resonance. Paul O'Neill takes low, ball 1. Ah, Hillary, why am I only afforded the soft, euphonious fruits of your speech organ? McDowell steps off the mound to clean some mud out of his spikes. But you know, someday, Hillary, the new virtual technologies will enable me to press your button, a button on my telephone, causing you to materialize. Yes, to automatically appear in the flesh. Here in the curveball, swung on and missed, here in the ABC studio. I can almost see you now, Hillary. You're materializing in my mind. Ah, and you're wearing something very diaphanous. Gossamer thin, very... Hit hard, foul, down the right field line. Hillary, I can't stand it any longer. I need to see, to visually examine the anatomy from whence those docile, well-endowed utterances originate. I'm going to put all my money into virtual technologies. I'm going to personally speed the process of telephonic ground ball up the middle. Great stop by Graybeck. To Cora for 1, the throw to first, double play. Oh, stay there, Hillary. We'll resume after the commercials. The score after 7 innings, Yanks 5, White Sox 3. On WABC, that's what it might be like if I could integrate myself into the Yankee game. 5 days, and this following individual didn't surface, but he's surfaced indeed tonight, and I'm glad to see that he's back on the side of God and country and Jay Diamond. John from Staten Island. Hello, John.
Hey, don't worry. My cohort, the great Frank of Queens, was standing in listening for all of the pertinent news that had to be passed on while I was working day shift.
Oh, is that it?
Yeah. But, Jay, I am so livid.
No,
the phone is burning in my hand at the constant and repeated lies, despite all the facts that are repeated by that Blame America, anti-American witch on the previous show.
Oh.
Ronald Reagan ruined this country. Ronald Reagan saved this country. We ruined Haiti. You were right in your opening remarks. Our troops and our country exist only to make life easier for people. And that's a pretty tough job, and sometimes things don't always go the right way. But our hearts are always in the right place. Another lie. The CIA is involved in selling drugs. What a left-wing propaganda lie. And everything, of course, is our fault. And the 1980s benefited the rich. I'm going to say it again, Jay. The top 1% of wage earners in 1989 were paying 17% of the taxes. By 1988, they were paying nearly 28% of all taxes, and today they're paying 25% of all taxes. And the top 5% of wage earners in America today are paying 44% of all taxes. Another lie. The 1980s, David Dinkins was thrown out of office because of racism. Now, Jay, we all know that that's a lie. There are 370...
Yes, his racism.
That's right. Yeah, his racism got kicked out of office. People got tired of him pandering to one group.
Hello, Winnie Mandela, dear. Will, please, may I march with you in your parade? May I carry your train? Winnie, may I carry your necklace?
Yeah. You know, she's going to pop up again because now her ex-husband is president.
She's in the
try and make up with him.
No, you didn't hear. He's already appointed her to the cabinet. You didn't hear that?
No.
Yeah, it's incredible. He appointed her, this murderess, to the cabinet.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yes, I heard you speaking about that the other night. When I work days, I'm out of touch for a while. But another lie. I want to address a couple of these lies, Jay. Most people in America are not conservative. Well, look at recent history. Tom Bradley, the black mayor of Los Angeles for the last 20 years, was defeated by a white Republican. Texas elected a second Republican senator for the first time in 150 years. Lowell Weicker, a Republican but an ultra-liberal, was thrown out of the Senate by Connecticut voters after 3 or 4 terms. Brett Schundler, Republican conservative, was elected mayor of Jersey City. That's in a minority town yet. Bill Clinton had to pretend he was more conservative than he was to get elected president, and then he showed his true liberal colors And at least half of those who voted for him said they wish they hadn't now. The American people got mad at George Bush for siding with liberals on many issues, including agreeing to that Democratic tax increase. Rudy Giuliani defeated David Dinkins, of course, and Christy Whitman defeated liberal Democrat Jim Florio. Republican conservative George Allen won election to office in Virginia. And Ronald Reagan remains the most beloved and popular president of our lifetime. So most of America still is conservative, and eventually it's going to be proven out. And let the Afghans, and by the way, the Afghans stayed in their country and got weapons wherever they could and defeated a more formidable enemy. Let the lousy Haitians do the same thing. They're only a few miles from our shores. They can get plenty of weapons from those thugs in the Bronx to do their own fighting.
John, no baloney now, John. Let me ask you a question. I'm no defender of Bill Clinton, and I know you certainly aren't, but John, off the record, no baloney. What do you think of Paula Corbin-Jones? What is
Guilty, guilty, guilty. That's what he is. Bill Clinton is guilty on everything. He is a pathologist. His whole profession is lying.
See, but I don't believe her. I don't believe her, and I'm sick of the whole I think it's all the sexual harassment is baloney. I think the feminists invented it, and I hope that this buries it once and for all. I disagree with him on policy grounds, but I really do not have any faith in this Jezebel, Paula Corbin-Jones, and I hope that this is the death knell for all these ludicrous charges of sexual harassment that have sprung up throughout the whole country in offices and businesses. Men have to, you need a chaperone every time you go out with a woman.
Well, there's plenty to despise Bill Clinton for other than his womanizing.
You're a single man. You're a married man. You don't have to worry, but I'm a man alone in life, and if I dare go out with a girl, it's like I want to carry a Geiger counter with me.
Jay, the most frightening thing about Bill Clinton is not his womanizing. The most frightening, scariest thing about him is that he actually thinks he's doing a good job. The other day, judge me by my achievements, not by accusation. What achievement?
All right. John, stay where you are. Don't go away yet.
That was my idea. People said, Mario, maybe bringing thousands of high-risk people into one place for a week to 10 days while allowing every gin mill in the village to sell whiskey on the sidewalk during an AIDS epidemic isn't such a good idea. Well, I poo-pooed it. I said poo-poo. If there's to be any celebration of gay Olympics and gay pride and gay respect, New York is the only place because all subterranean subculture movements can have pride and respect in New York City because we're afraid not to respect them. In my superior mind, we're the only place that's fit to host these kind of people. And since my historic decision on that subject, I'm also decided that later this summer, New York City, I'm proud to announce, will also sponsor a visit from Sheikh Rashid El Ghanouchi, an eminent theologian and holy man from Tunisia. People don't understand there's many different sects, S-E-C-T-S, to the Islamic faith. And some people don't know the difference between Shiite and Shinola. And that's why I think it's important to invite the Sheikh here, so we might better understand why he hates our guts so much. While most other members of the Islamic faith live in peace and harmony with others, not of their following, Sheikh Ghanouchi is of an older, more fundamental right. His beliefs are of simple note, merely the annihilation of every living thing west of Senegal. Look, I think I'll let my good friend Bobby Abrams, former New York State Attorney General, explain it. Anybody who at the age of 50 has the nerve to still call himself Bobby can explain anything.
I believe our best answer to Islamic fundamentalism is to establish a dialogue between ourselves and Sheikh Ghanouchi.
Gesundheit.
Well, as you know, I've always been a proponent of strength through weakness. I firmly believe, shiveringly believe, we have to be weak. And maybe if we apologize to him and they see we mean them no harm, perhaps they'll forego their plans to kill all of us. Please don't hurt me.
We also plan to announce at the time of the Sheik's arrival plans for the first annual 26-mile Jihad Marathon. The Jihad 26-miler will be open only to Islamic fundamentalists. Beginning at Kennedy Airport, each contestant will be greeted personally by myself and Bobby Abrams. Now, as you know, fundamentalists practice the ancient rite of self-flagellation. So every contestant will be given his own 2x4 at the starting line for the purpose of beating himself in the head during the event. The finish line will be atop the World Trade Center, where the winner will be awarded his own personal stick of dynamite for the express purpose of sending himself and as many innocent people as possible to immediately meet Allah, or, of course, their own prospective deity. Anyway, this promises to be the greatest multicultural event ever foisted upon the city and the good people of New York, and I brought it all to you a mere 3 months before Election Day. Please don't forget that.
Mario, he's done so much. Shouldn't we let him finish the job?
A paid political denouncement by the Cuomo for Governor Committee.
On WABC, hello,
Our illustrious young people and their most infamous contributions to our multicultural society. And that's why I'm both pleased and proud, so very proud, to be a part of tonight's ceremonies, because I feel that in some small way I had a part in this, their most noteworthy recognition. But I digress. This is their night, so please, without any further ado, it gives me great pleasure to introduce to you this year's winner of the Dubious Achievement Award and present him with the coveted Golden Nike. Ladies and gentlemen, may I present that shiny example of youthful rage, a beautiful combination of self-esteem and outcome-based education, this year's recipient of the Golden Nike, Mr. Shaul Linier. Accepting the award for Shaul Linier is his former mentor, Mr. David N. Dinkins. Thank you. Shaul couldn't be here tonight to accept this honor, but I can personally say that I know for a fact that his parents and the entire editorial staff of the New York Times are all very proud of him tonight. You know, I was instrumental in bringing about some of the badly needed reforms within the criminal justice system. I was also instrumental in bringing about the toughest hardline approaches to the policing community. Remember the don't diss your sis buttons? That was mine. The purple ribbon? That was my idea too. But I didn't come here to blow my own horn. I'll be doing that on opening day of this year's Gay Games, which I originated. Shaul has spent the last year in intensive psychotherapy after having murdered Mr. Diogenes Ricardo Nunez. His therapists, I'm happy to say, tell me he already realizes he's done wrong, and maybe with a few $100,000 worth of extra intensive treatment, he might one day actually care. In closing, I'd just like to say that only in America and New York City, especially, can a boy distinguish himself as a cold-blooded murderer before reaching puberty, yet still maintain a degree of self-esteem. And in that, we can all find solace in Shaul's tragic instance. Even though a man is dead, at least Shaul can still feel good about himself. I thank you. And I thank you. It was a pleasure working with you all these years, and next year at this time, I'll be in your boat. Okay, thank you very much.
Bring devotion back. Just call my name.
Oh, Koch, His Honor. I'll be there. Why don't you take it, Mike?
You and I must make a pact. We must bring devotion back. Just call my name, Koch, and I'll be there.
Voice of reason.
WABC. Stop! Stop! Okay, thank you, Irving. Reverend Sharpton, you've seen fit to criticize Senator Moynihan's remarks with respect to today's overwhelming statistics regarding illegitimate births. Would you care to elaborate on what you find wrong with such comments?
You mean besides it's being racist? Okay, you see, Senator Moynihan displays his ignorance when he says things like the illegitimacy rate climbed by 42% over a 50-year period. While the statement he makes is accurate, he fails to understand the root cause for such an increase. You see, in today's multicultural society, multiple births are a necessity. According to studies conducted by the United Nations Malevolence Committee, what was that? What organization was that? I said the Unity Nation Malevolence Committee. Today's multicultural family, in order to propagate in an oppressive society, must spawn or otherwise give birth to no less than 10 dependents, in the hopes that maybe one might amount to something. Using myself as an example, I'm the first one in my family to ever leave his mark without the use of a spray can.
Time's up, Reverend Sharpman. Senator Moynihan, would you care to respond?
The Reverend Sharpman misses the point entirely. The figures that I pointed out in 1992 as empirical evidence were designed to draw attention to what I believe may be the shortfalls of liberal doctrine, and absolutely not meant as a racial slur of any kind.
Did you say welfare was bad? Didn't you say that?
I said welfare may very well lead to a society of people dependent upon government assistance or a welfare state.
Would you say hard work is the best way to get ahead in society?
That's a fair statement.
Then that's racist.
Gentlemen, Mayor Dinkins, you may ask the next question.
Reverend Sharpton. He's got me doing it now. Reverend Sharpton, how would you address the problem of illegitimacy?
What we need to do to completely eliminate illegitimate births is to first define illegitimacy down. You see, the stigma...
What is that you said?
I said stigma, you idiot, of being illegitimate has always played a major role in the breakdown of one's self-esteem, a major root cause to antisocial behavior. According to the Nation of Islam Mental Health Association, low self-esteem...
Wait a minute, who was it?
According to the Nation of Islam Mental Health Association, low self-esteem is the latest reason for violent behavior, poor test scores, and bedwetting. What we need to do is eliminate the word illegitimate, except when referring, of course, to the American democratic system, and replace it with a word more conducive to positive self-image like nobility, or royal, or my own personal favorite, Sharpman-esque. Once we remove the stigma and negativity of being illegitimate and implement the principles of the Sharpman doctrine, we will see an end to crime and antisocial behavior as we know it. Back to you, Irving.
Mayor Koch, your question, please.
Reverend thank you, Reverend Sharpman, you referred to the Sharpman doctrine. How would the Sharpman doctrine address the homeless problem?
As you know, the problems faced by our indigent American population is of great concern to me. Some people call them bums. Some people call them drug-addicted human waste. But I'm proud to call them my people. You see, Senator Moynihan lives in Washington and drives big cars. He's not in touch with my constituency, and in spite of my tremendous success in life, I've never been one to flaunt my affluent lifestyle.
Excuse me, did you say affluent?
I said affluent lifestyle. Now, as your elected representative to the Senate, the first thing I would do is introduce my strategy to solve the homeless problem, which I would call the Americans with Instabilities Act. Under this act, those people we call homeless would be given the same rights as the Native American population, thereby entitling them to open their own gambling casinos and become self-sufficient to the tune of $25 million a week tax-free.
That sounds like an excellent idea, Reverend Sharpman.
Sharpton, you jerk.
Excuse me. How would the Sharpton doctrine address the problem of street gangs?
By looking to the old country. You see, gang behavior is caused by oppression. Because their history was taken from them, according to studies done by the Larry Hogue Society, gang members in the Los Angeles area suffer from delayed stress syndrome. attention deficit disorder, aftershocks, sleep deficiency. I almost said defecation, rage, and PMS. Under the Sharpton doctrine, we would engage in a cultural exchange program between New York City and her sister city of Butere, Rwanda. We believe after being exposed to the gentle ways of the Hutu and Tutsis gang members, the gang members might become more inclined to put down their guns in exchange for machetes.
Are you seriously saying, I don't believe this, are you seriously saying that gang members in possession of machetes is a good idea?
Have you ever heard of a drive-by stabbing?
I'm sorry, gentlemen, but we're out of time. So I'll give each one of the candidates a chance to make a closing statement. Senator Moynihan.
I'd just like to say that I have been endorsed by every legitimate democratic organization in New York State. And I hope the people of New York will remember me on Election Day.
I'd just like to say that if you want change, I'm your man. I'm also proud to say that I've been endorsed by Jesse Jackson, Louis Farrakhan, Lenora Fulani, and the New Alliance Party. Most of the multicultural illiterati, the Waco survivors, and the Manson family. And if you find yourself in the voting booth this election day, I'd appreciate it very much if you would pull that lever for me. And I would be most appreciative if you could pull that lever a couple more times, even if you're dead.
And that concludes the Irving Schwartz initial debate in a series of debates to be conducted amongst the candidates for the Democratic nomination for United States Senate from New York. It requires also a sense of journalistic ethics, which people like T.W. Chang, and the name T.W. The name T.W. is similar in political, in its political connotation to using the word, the construction woman of color. It's a pompous, pretentious, self-conscious ornament of the hard left. T.W. Chang, who looks like he just came off the Long March with Chairman Mao. This bum on Channel 4 yesterday, which is the most left-wing of all the local stations, this bum was in the thrall of this witch called Louisa Chan from school district number 24. Now, Louisa Chan is the troublemaking, hard leftist who lied about Mary Cummins several months ago and said that Mary had shouted some imprecations at her with a, shall we say, a racial bias. I'll say it, she claimed Mary called her a slant-eyed chink or chink eyes or something like that. Mary never said that. Mary never said that, okay? But this Louisa Chan, who is a hard leftist, wanted to encumber Mary Cummins with this false quote. She wanted to compromise Mary Cummins with the baggage of that quote. So she just made it up, which, by the way, is a time-tested tactic of Stalinist communists. They say something, and even if it's not the truth, it becomes the truth because they say it and they bleat it out. They bleat like a pig, which is what Louise Chan did. And this T.W. Chang, who seems to share her political orientation, if not her sexual orientation, got on the bandwagon. There's only one trouble. They were both lying. Amos and Anthony.
Excuse me, I just stopped by to see if my campaign posters for my Senate run are ready.
Yes, sir. Here they are, 5,000 ejection posters.
Well, let me see that. What? These all say eject Al Sharpton. It's supposed to say elect Al Sharpton. I'm not paying for these.
I wouldn't bet on that. You see right here on your work order, your own work order, EJECT, eject Al Sharpton. Now, that's what you people ordered, and that's what I printed up. Now, are you going to pay for these, or do I have you arrested?
Okay, Mr. Perot, how much?
That'll be $2,000, clean money. It's a good deal, better than you get anywhere else.
Let me see now. I seem to look into my back pocket. Seem to have left my cash at home. You take a check? Okay, I guess I'll just have to put it on the plastic. Do you accept MasterCard?
Let me see that card. Why, sure I do. Mrs. Greenberg? Oh, I must have accidentally picked up my wife's card. I'm her husband, Amos Greenberg, and please hurry. I have a very pressing engagement down at the temple tonight. I'm conducting midnight mass. Well, I'm sorry, Mrs. Greenberg, but it seems your card is already over its limit. I'm afraid you'll have to come up with some other way to pay for these posters. Well, let me see. I don't have any money. Mrs. Greenberg doesn't pay her bills either. I'll have to find something I can sell. I know, I'll sell my old medallions, but to who? Who would be stupid enough to buy one of these things? Anybody who'd offer me more than 2 cents for an Al Sharpton medallion would have to be a real idiot. Let me see. Hey, I'm Caller Anthony from the Bronx. Ain't you Al Sharpton? No, the name's, Amos. You sure look like Al Sharpton, the Reverend. Nope, name's Amos Greenberg, former U.S. Olympic athlete. See, here's all my gold medals. Wow, you're really an athlete. What are you doing walking around with all that gold anyway? Well, you see, Anthony, some Jews stole my cat. And they told me if I don't come up with $2,000 by 5 o'clock tonight, they're going to give it to a Chinese restaurant. And the only way I can get that kind of money together is by selling my most treasured possessions, the gold medals I won in the Zimbabwe Olympics. Yeah, I remember you. You do? Weren't you the one who got in trouble for giving the clenched fist salute during the award ceremony? Yeah, that was me. Don't you have any family to help you out in the community? No. My wife died in an airplane crash. My father was run over by a power wagon under suspicious circumstances, and my mother died a year before I was born. Oh, that's terrible. How much do you want for them medals? How much you got? I only got about $100. I'm sure I might. That's good enough. Maybe them Jews will sell me back a paw or something I can remember her by. Well, look here, Amos. Anytime you want to visit your medals, just come see me. I live in the Bronx. Bless you, Anthony. People like you are a dime hard to come by. You wonderful, guy.
All right, and there it was on WABC. And I feel that I must introduce them to you. He predicted the Crown Heights riots. He predicted the Los Angeles uprising. And in 1994, he predicted more of the same. He's the spiritual leader of dozens within the community, and now he's here to share his wisdom with you. Ladies and gentlemen, world-renowned holy man, grand vizier, and community activist Al Sharpton for Al Sharpton's Psychic Hotline.
If you were in the old country and you needed to know something, you'd look to the stars. Back then, before our history was stolen by the Jews, the people of the community would count the rings in a pile of giraffe droppings to predict a bountiful harvest or a good hunt. But there wasn't always a giraffe handy when you needed one, and that's how astrology was discovered. Our first question comes from a lady in New York City. She asks, "Dear Reverend Sharpman, I'm troubled. My boyfriend and I would very much like to have a baby, but there's one small problem. The police say we have to be married before Khalid can have any conjugal visits, but Khalid's already married. My question is, will I ever have a baby? I can hear my biological clock just ticking away, and I'm already 14. Signed, Raisinetta Muhammad, New York City. My answer, don't give up hope, Raisinetta. I've consulted with the stars, and I found that your astrological vibrations are a bit out of ovulation. I also see that you're a Pisces, a water sign with a Virgo ascending. Your moon is also in the 7th house, which brings to the subject of Khalid. If Khalid had stayed in his own house instead of entering his neighbor's house, he wouldn't be in the jailhouse, and you'd already have your baby. My advice to you is to dump Khalid, and if you don't have your baby by your next birthday, you come see me. You know, Raisinetta, when it comes to fathering a child, I can tell you from experience that choosing the right man is crucial. I remember when Mrs. Sharpton and I were trying to conceive, and it doesn't bother me to tell you that it wasn't easy. Why, we went to the doctor, and I'll never forget his telling me, he said, "Mr. Sharpton, you're very impotent." And I've never forgotten that advice to this day, and it might be a good idea Sharp man. I'm a gay white male and an activist member with ACT UP. My problem is that I too would like to have a baby. Since I live in a homophobic society and am not allowed to adopt because of my political views, my question is, what are my chances I'll ever conceive? Signed, Brian Sissy Tush. Well, Brian, let me put it this way. If life on Earth were hell, I'd name that baby Snowball. But by examining your astrological charts, I can see that you're a Scorpio with the occultation of your masculine and feminine planets. I said planets. Now what we need to do is get you an inoculation I see as an egress and try to focus on your prenatal epoch. But the biggest problem I see is an egress in Uranus. Uranus is rising. Yes, sir, there's just way too much going on with Uranus, Brian, and you got to cut that out. Well, I hope I've helped to enlighten some of you at home, and I hope you come on down to the Slave Theater bookshop and pick up a copy of my new book, Orion Was a Jew, for only $19.95. Be among the first 100, and I'll let you sign my petition.
All right, that was the Mighty Diamond Art Players, and now back to the phones. Thank you, Mighty Diamond Art Players. The Al Sharpton Activist Academy. Okay, let's see. Architect. No. Appliance technician. No. Account rep. No. Systems manager. No. Information systems and no. Management consultant. No. Aha! President. Oh, must be experience. Rocket scientist. No. Damn. There just ain't no jobs. How am I going to collect unemployment if I can't get a job?
Have you ever thought about a career in community activism?
Who are you?
This is Al Sharpton for the Al Sharpton School of the Protest Arts and Theological Seminary. You see, Khalid, in trying to address the needs of the community, the Clinton crime bill will allow for the creation of dozens of new and exciting programs like empowerment zones and midnight basketball.
So, what does that have to do with anything?
So stupid, that means money. Moolah, that means the gravy train is pulling out. The time is right for enlightened community leadership and inspired underachievers. The Al Sharpton School of the Protest Arts will teach you how to spot prejudice where none exists, revise history to suit your needs, and interpret new and innovative forms of root cause behavior. And at our extension campus at the Whitney Museum, you'll learn the subtle art of grabbing up those National Endowment Art dollars. Think of it, $25,000 for a police uniform full of bullet holes, and your picture in the New York Times Sunday paper. But enough from me. Let's hear some unsolicited testimony from one of our recent graduates.
I used to be all alone. That's right. I had no friends and no money and no future. And then I graduated from the Al Sharpton School of the Protest Arts. Yeah, that's right. I got a BS in teledialogue. I still don't have any friends, but I am a successful, semi-self-sufficient restaurateur. Excuse me. Hello, Domino's. What do you mean your order is wrong? Did you ever stop to think that maybe you ordered it wrong? Did I write it down? I'll have you know, Mrs. Leibowitz, that I hail from a culture steeped in a rich tradition of oral history. If you eat only kosher, then why did you order a sausage and cheese pizza, damn it? Look, what does it say on the damn menu? Oh, I see. You don't have a menu. In other words, you don't have your facts straight. Damn Jews.
So come on down to the Slave Theater and sign up today. The first 100 students will be given their own complimentary Sacred Covenant Dakota ring to assist you in your studies. And don't delay. That gravy train won't wait long. All aboard!
All right, that's the first commercial. A little later.
The oppressive Euro-Zionist conspirators versus O.J. Simpson. With your host, Julie Man, people of truth and family advisor, the Right Reverend and closet Jew, Albert Julius Sharpton.
Well, good evening. It's always good to be back here. I think I'll come in here every night, make a fool of myself. I mean, unless you've been in outer space or Butler, New Jersey, it's not very likely you haven't heard about the trumped-up criminal proceedings going on against brother O.J. Simpson, who's been a hero, successful businessman, and a court-ordered role model to so many youths in the community. Here with me tonight to discuss the facts of the case is Inspector Hilliard from Scotland Yard of Islam.
I know what happened. I know exactly what happened.
So, Inspector Hilliard, you believe O.J. is being persecuted for this crime because he's black?
Could there be any other reason? Were you there? Hell no. You see, you watch the news and you read the papers, but you still don't have your facts straight. I got my facts straight. First, you know why? Because I do my research. First of all, we've got that white Jewish woman, Jill Schiff. She goes on hard copy and tells the world how she saw O.J. Simpson stuck at the red light.
Yeah, all right, I'm listening.
Now, the DA conveniently excuses her from testifying. And you know why? I'll tell you why. Because she's the one witness who could prove discrimination. They don't want you to know that.
Well, how's that? I don't get it.
Everybody knows the only reason that damn light turned red was because O.J. Simpson is a black man.
That's a pretty interesting theory. I never thought that one up.
Theory, hell, it's a damn fact. Look it up, man. I suggest you read Make Mine Melanin by W.E.B. Du Bois in the Hood. It's available at the Schomburg Library. Only $3.95. It's only 16 pages long.
Well, so who do you think did it?
I don't think. I know who did it. Ron Goldman did it. That's who did it. It was a murder-suicide, man.
I still don't understand.
Ron Goldman loved Nicole, but he needed to get O.J. out of the way. So he figured if he could make it look like Simpson was the perpetrator of a terrible crime and sent to prison, that would clear the way for him to marry Nicole. So first he stabbed and killed her, and then turned the knife on himself, self-inflicting 22 stab wounds before slashing his own throat.
What about the knife? How could he get rid of it?
You know that stupid dog that found out there barking with the blood on its paws?
Oh,
Well, before he died, man, Goldman wrapped the knife in a raw T-bone steak he brought with him from the restaurant. Then he gave the steak to the stupid dog who thought it was a bone and buried it somewhere. I can prove it. I've got the tapes. I'll send them to you if you don't believe me.
well, I don't know about you people, but it sure sounds good to me. I believe it. We're out of time right now, but tune in tomorrow and we'll discuss the Giuliano administration and Alan Hevesy. If Alan Hevesy doesn't throw a bid from a cantaloupe, does that mean he's black? I thought he was gay. Either way, I feel a march coming on.
All right. All right. Thank you, David. I'm grateful for the call.
Okay.
Thank you.
To produce a cinematographic masterpiece with a message of great social importance. Multicultural Pictures presents The Boyfriend Did It. She wrote The Trial of O.J. Simpson.
Starring Sal Ingaleri as the Juice, David Duke as Police Chief Willie Williams, Lynn Samuels as Judge Kennedy Powell, and Al Sharpton as defense attorney Robert Shapiro.
Your Honor, I object. Counsel for the prosecution is deliberately trying to conceive the jury by presenting factual evidence designed to cast my client in a bad light and inflame the community.
Well, that sounds logical. It makes perfect sense to me. Okay, objection sustained, I think. Why don't you call again? You're so great.
Bobby Abrams as the Los Angeles County DA.
Mr. Simpson, where were you on the night of June 12th between the hours of 10 and 11? You don't have to answer, but I'd be very grateful if you did. I hope nobody objects to...
Objection! Your Honor, the DA is hounding the witness. This is a travesty. I want a mistrial. Of all the nerve to ask a question like that, why don't you let me ask you a question? What were you doing in the bathroom with those pictures of Tawana Brawley, huh?
And special guest, Mario Cuomo as the Spachim.
Okay, Al. I painted your house. I invited Louis Farrakhan over to our next sleepover at the governor's mansion and notified the Division of Motor Vehicles to develop a less culturally biased license testing procedure. No more written or driving criteria will be required of anyone who can prove his or her multiculturalness. Now, will you endorse me?
What about the crime bill? You know, I still don't like that 3 strikes on your out the thing, and neither do my constituents.
How about 4 strikes and you're out?
No, that's still too severe.
Well, how about this? 3 strikes, and we'll give you 3 more. As I say, how about this? 3 strikes, and we'll give you 3 more strikes, plus a grace period and 1 hour head start, and probation if you do get convicted.
Well, now you're cooking in my kitchen.
Now, will you give me your blessing?
Well, make sure the cars have been waxed and do a good job on the swimming pool, then go over and do the same thing for Khalid, and we'll see about it.
Thank you, Al. Thank you. I won't fail you. I won't let you down. I promise I'll do justice for your faith in me.
Just make sure you don't do such a good job you upset all the Jews.
What Jews? I don't know about Jews.
Haiti, and I wonder what his approach would be. What would it be if you were asked to go down to Haiti and resolve the dispute with the government of General Cedras? What would you do? What would you tell Colonel Biambi, Mr. Francois, and General Cedras? What would you tell them?
I would simply say, to avoid violence, Jay, it is essential to make up millions of little buttons for all Haitians, and those buttons will say, "Don't diss the steed," and that will solve the problem, the way it solved the problem of sexual attacks in our swimming pools.
No, but they're still attacking the young women in the swimming pools. It didn't work.
Now, wait a minute now. All right, you've had attacks in the last 6 days, but prior to that, for 9 months, there wasn't one attack in the New York City swimming pool.
Yeah, but the pools were closed for 9 months. The 6 attacks have happened in 6 days.
Nobody's perfect.
Thank you very much. It's been a while since I supped of your wisdom, and I can understand now why it was always such a thrill to talk to you. Thank you very much.
Don't mention it.
You ever going to run again?
No, I prefer to do much as my predecessor has done. The voters kicked me out, and now you must suffer. That's including you, Jay, you right-wing elitist.
Where'd you get that from?
From the last caller. He was right about you.
Is that right? You're not gonna run again. You're gonna let the people suffer.
That is correct. Look how you're suffering now that I'm not mayor.
Yeah, that's true. I think you should stay the unmayor and let me suffer a little more.
All right, back to the phones on WABC.
Jay, what your guest said absolutely jives with what I've got down. Colleges all over America are offering scholarships and special amenities to blacks, even if their family income is over $150,000 a year. Whites whose families make less are not being offered these same privileges. Is this another example of the lack of political power in America, in racist America? Hey, why don't we just give Texas back to the Mexicans, Jay? I mean, after all, it was unfair that we defeated them. We had better weapons than they had. And your other guest, the one that was talking about the slavery in Africa, did you hear how he had to be politically correct even when you caught him and chastised him? He said, well, where are the civil rights groups? Where are the conservatives? Hey, Jay, who has been bashing the fact that blacks have been murdering each other all over the world for the longest time? Anytime we get information, don't we conservatives always speak out about it and we're called racist?
Well, the irony of what you cite in the case of the individual with whom I was speaking before, Charles Jacobs, is that I was quoting him. That's what irritated me a little bit. I was quoting his own words from his writing, John, and then he seemed to back away from them when I questioned him about those words.
That always happens when they get on the air. They're afraid they'll be called a name. See, when they write it down on paper, they're less of a tangible thing. But when they're on the air and you hear they have their own voice going out over the air, they get a little scared. And how come Lynn didn't bring this up on her show? She's always talking about how she reads everything. I know she must have read this, but in typical liberal style, they choose what they want to bring up on their show. And, you know, this isn't the only thing we haven't heard about, Jay. How come we didn't hear what the color was of the attackers in the 3 incidents in Central Park over the weekend, the 2 rapes and the murder? And how come I didn't hear I only heard one report of a follower of Louis Farrakhan who pushed a police officer into an oncoming car because the police officer was about to give the driver of the Farrakhan limousine a ticket for driving up on the sidewalk.
When was that? Somebody told me.
Over the weekend.
Now, what happened there?
They were at an airport down south, I believe.
Yeah.
With Farrakhan and his entourage.
Yeah.
One of his limousine drivers drove up onto the sidewalk. I guess he was trying to avoid some traffic.
Yeah.
So the police officer ran after the car to get him off the sidewalk or give him a ticket or whatever he was going to do. And one of his thug killer followers shoved the police officer in front of the car. And the police officer, he's now in the hospital.
He was hit by the car?
Yeah, he was hit by the car.
How's he doing?
I heard he was I don't know if he was seriously injured, but he was injured enough to go to the hospital.
I missed that. Where did you see that?
I heard it on WINS News. And, you know, Jay, for blacks...
Hey, they know all about traffic accidents because didn't one of their reporters try to run people down?
Yes, I heard about that.
Some sports reporter there tried to run down an interracial couple.
Oh, they're great. They're great when they have 4 tons under their belt. You know, for those blacks, Jay, who think...
I don't even get that, John.
What does 4 tons mean?
A car.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're great when they're in a car and they can run people over. And for those racist blacks who call this show and chastise you and chastise we conservatives and think we're heartless, they who think that we Republicans and conservatives are their enemy and think that liberals are their friend, let them heed the voice of a true religious philosopher, Norman Vincent Peale, who said, the trouble with most of us is that we would rather be ruined by praise than saved by criticism. And
yeah, like all these men here at WABC, you can't. They're so insecure. You can't criticize them.
But I love men.
Yeah. Hey, John, I know you love cats, so I hope you won't get mad at me. All right, but I got to tell you something. I'm glad they caught that stupid Tabitha. Glad they found that cat. But I can't stand Carol Ann Timmel. I hope I never see her again. You feel the same way?
I didn't even see her.
Raleigh feels the same way. Yeah, she's that actress trying to hype herself up looking for her cat. Yeah. We should hide her on a plane for 2 weeks.
Oh, Carol Ann Timmel looking for a little cat. My cat's psychic here.
Yeah, well, I felt bad.
I know. I like cats, too. It's just that Carol Ann Timmel that was getting on my nerves.
I didn't even know I thought it was a little girl who was looking for a cat. I didn't know it was an actress.
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
Same mentality. All right, thanks, John.
All right.
Speak to you.
You know who barges in? Let's listen in.
Okay, fellas, this is the way it goes. The master of ceremonies introduces me with ladies and gentlemen, etc., etc., one of the finest minds of our times, etc., etc., the only true hope that members of the community will ever have, the one, the only, etc., etc., Governor Mario Cuomo. That's the cue for the AME church choir to spring into glory, hallelujah. You got it? All right. Now, amidst the thunderous applause, I'll nod my head. Listen and watch closely, because I'm going to nod my head. That's the signal. That's when I make my entrance. Now, here's my question. Do you think the Egyptian litter and the 12 Nubian bearers are too pretentious? What if we make it a bit more contemporary? We'll give each of the litter bearers a baseball cap, but make sure, of course, they're all on backwards.
If you really want to be contemporary, you get rid of the Nubians and use taxpayers.
Early's the kidder, aren't you, Al? So what are you doing here? You decided to endorse me, maybe?
No, I just wanted to see what you're doing, so I thought I'd drop in.
Well, tonight's very noisy here at the meeting. Tonight's the big multicultural fundraiser round. Members of every ethnic community with more than 2 nickels to their name will be here tonight. So if you'll excuse me, I'm a little busy right now.
Can I hear you say fundraiser?
Yeah, we're going to try and raise a couple of bucks.
I know about raising money. That's my specialty. Well, I've been held it out as job since 1968. Got a house in Jersey, kids in private school, 3 or 4 cars I can't remember. Maybe I can be of some help tonight. I got a lot of experience in organizing. Come on, Mario. What do you say?
Well, all right. But look, Al, you got to remember, it's not easy these days to get so many people from such varied ethnic backgrounds to come into the same room with each other anymore. Not only give money, thanks to people like you and me, they won't even appear on the same platform together. So if you want to be my stage manager tonight, here's how I want them listed in order of their appearance. Now follow my lead.
Okay.
I want the Jews on first, the Wasps on second.
Wait a minute, Mario. Let me see if I get this straight. You go on first.
Oh, I said Jews on first.
Oh, okay. I'm on first.
No, you're not listening.
You said Jews on first. I know what I heard.
All right. We'll get back to that one. Next, we'll have Wasps on second.
What?
Wasps. I said Wasps on second.
Okay, I got it. The Italians on second.
Hey, watch your manners, Al. I don't allow that kind of talk in this administration. I said Wasps on second. Do you know what I'm talking about? I'll bet you don't even know what a wasp is.
Sure I do. That's them things that come flying around my head each time I eat lamb kebabs in the park. This thing, too.
No, Al. You're talking about bees, hornets. That's not what I mean.
One day them wasps came after me doing an interview with Gabe Pressman.
Let's get back to tonight, Al. Listen carefully now.
Gabe got all stung up. He can't run as fast as he used to. Stung his face up real bad. That's why he's so all lumpy looking now these days.
Look, Al, Gabe Pressman's face is not my concern. God knows, just be thankful you don't have to wake up next to it every morning. Now, from the top, Al, who's on your list?
Who's on first, what's on second?
No, Jew's on first, Wasp's on second. Al, don't you understand anything?
If you's on first, but the killer bee's on second, who's on third?
What do you mean, who's on third? Let me take a look at that.
You see, according to this list, there's a spot left for someone to talk for 3 hours. Now, who do you know that can talk for 3 solid hours?
Sure, that's Mark Green. He'll be making my introduction. On WABC, this is Jay Diamond.
First, the scene. Mario Cuomo is on stage directing his aides on the production of that evening's multicultural fundraiser when you-know-who pays a visit.
Okay, fellas, this is the setup. First, representatives from the various communities will address the audience. They'll extol, without going into great detail, the virtues of my esteemed service to the state of New York, the party, and of course, the criminal community, the criminal American community. After which, the Reverend Summer Whiteman of the AM/FM Storefront Tabernacle will deliver a brief benediction. That's when the Master of Ceremonies introduces me. He'll say, ladies and gentlemen, etc., one of, if not the finest minds of our time, etc., the last and only hope that you people will ever have, the Right Honorable, all-knowing, omniscient, all-seeing Governor Mario Cuomo. Applause, applause, applause will follow, naturally. That's when you'll wheel me out atop the Lincoln Memorial replica. I'll be sitting on the throne, of course. Now, amidst this thunderous applause, I'll nod my head. That's your cue to send out the AME Church Choir, and they start singing the Battle Hymn of the Republic. Now, get this down, carefully. This is split-second timing, and I can't afford to have anybody get this wrong. I begin to slowly descend the steps and remove my stovepipe hat. The choir singers at my feet. Their heads craned upward at me. Picture this. Their faces expressing a childlike innocence. Then the chorus sings, glory, glory, hallelujah, glory, glory. I stop. I gaze among them in a Christ-like pose. Now make sure the camera gets a good close-up of my beneficent smile. I wonder if the singers should wear the choir robes. Or is it too late to scrounge up? Can we get some old tattered clothing, give it a little more authenticity? I know. Harvey, call the Imperial Theater, see if we can borrow some of their Les Miserables costumes. I want everything to be just so.
Peanuts! Get your peanuts! Peanuts!
Al, what are you doing here? And what's with the peanuts?
Ask Moynihan.
What's Moynihan got to do with it?
We made a deal. He said he wouldn't challenge the signatures on my petition, but I had to make a few concessions. Peanuts! Peanuts!
One of those concessions wouldn't perhaps be your endorsement of my candidacy, would it?
Don't be surprised. Peanuts! Peanuts!
Look, forget the peanuts. Let me ask you, did you come here to help me or to get in my way? Well,
I don't...
If you want to be of some help, how'd you like to be my stage manager for tonight's multicultural fundraiser?
Well, can I invite my friend Khalid? He knows how to work a crowd real good.
Well, maybe next time, not tonight. But I'll let you use your bullhorn. You'd like that, wouldn't you?
Okay, what I gotta do?
Well, as you know, it's not easy these days to get so many people from such varied ethnic communities to sit in the same room with each other anymore. And thanks to people like you and me, they won't even appear on the same stage together. So if you want to be my stage manager tonight, all you've got to do is keep track of the speakers in order of their appearance, okay? Because we're going to have a lot of people. I want to get it all right.
Yeah, I understand. Okay, I'll do that.
Now, I want Jews on first, Wasps on second.
All right, Mario, go ahead and tell me. Who's on first?
I am telling you. Jews on first, Wasps on second.
Tell me something. Let me ask you. Do you know the order of the speakers?
From the top, Jews on first, Wasps on second.
What wasps?
The ones that follow Jews.
I'm not being followed by any bees.
I never said that. I said Jews on first, Wasps on second.
Now you get me confused.
Let's say you're hanging out on the street corner with your pal Sonny Carson.
Well, why Sonny Carson?
Well, he's a contemporary of yours, isn't he? I mean, you're both two peas in a pod. You both hate everybody, right?
Well, yeah, that's right, but at least I don't go around bragging about it.
And that's to your credit. But let's say you're hanging in around with Carson. Now, Sonny has a bunch of rocks, and he wants to throw them at someone.
Uh-huh.
Now, along comes Irving Schwartz and Dorothy from Montclair. So what would be Sonny's next move?
Sonny throws the rocks at Jews.
Naturally.
So Sonny throws the rocks at naturally.
No, Sonny throws the rocks at Jude.
Naturally.
Now, Dorothy picks up the rock and throws it back, but Sonny ducks, and a rock strikes Gloria Vanderbilt.
A wasp.
Certainly.
Let me ask you something. You got a preacher to give the benediction tonight?
Of course we do.
Has he got a name?
Sure he does. Do you know Summer Whiteman?
Do you know some or not?
No, but that's not important. What is important is that you know Summer Whiteman.
Yeah, too damn many.
Al, calm down. Listen, I don't think you should get yourself so upset.
Don't get upset. You're standing here telling me all about a bunch of white preachers and wasps throwing rocks at the Jews on first with wasps on second. You say don't get upset, and I don't know why the hell not.
What?
I said, I don't know why the hell not.
Well, why didn't you say so? Why Della not? She's the caterer.
And so ends tonight's version of the MDAP. This is Jay.
The doctor who was talking about the plight of the third world.
Oh, yeah.
You notice he says, if the West lives up to its responsibility. Isn't it amazing, Jay? The third world has rights. The West has obligations. And in Senator Moynihan's statement on the new breed, he didn't mention, as far as I know, any particular group in his statement, yet Al Sharpton assumed he was talking about blacks and said it was racist. Is Al Sharpton an anti-black racist? Or does he see the same things that we conservatives have been talking about for years, and we were called racist for pointing it out? And I'm not going to hold my breath waiting for Al Sharpton, the Al Sharpton rent-a-crowd, and racist Al himself to march in Paterson, New Jersey, demanding justice and a special prosecutor for the real rape of that black teenage girl by 5 black youths over the weekend. New Jersey is the state where Al lives. He managed to come to New York every day to stir up trouble over a phony rape. Here's a case that really happened, but not a word from him. Do we all know why? Of course we do. And I'm not going to wait for Randall Robinson to go on a hunger strike to protest the slave trade going on in Mauritania and other black African countries with Arab and black African slave masters running the trade.
Well, because that doesn't advance his anti-American agenda, which is really what Randall Robinson and Kwesi Mpume and the whole bunch of them are all about, hating the United States.
But you realize what's going on here, Jay. Nothing has changed in Africa in 250 years. I thought it was whites and Jews who were the culprits when it came to slavery. And blacks in this country align themselves with these same Arabs who were enslaving blacks in Africa. Talk about contradiction.
Now, that's true. People may not know what you're referring to, but there was an op-ed piece in last Wednesday's New York Times documenting the chattel slavery that exists to this day in the Sudan by the Arab Berbers and in large expanses in Mauritania as well. And children are bought and sold as cattle, sometimes for as low as $15. If you don't convert to Islam, your Achilles tendon is cut, which of course maims you for life. And these people are every bit the equivalent of the slavery that people like Randall Robinson and Al Sharpton cite in our own history as a justification for their intensely antisocial, perverse behavior today.
Well, thanks for pointing that out, Jay. I know I didn't make that clear. I assume that a lot of people know what's going on, but the only semblance of civilization in Africa came from the white colonists. Those million refugees fleeing into Zaire weren't running from South Africa and those white Afrikaners. They were fleeing their machete-wielding black brothers. This type of butchery and tribal warfare was going on long before white men ever came to Africa. It was the tribal enemy prisoners who were sold into slavery back then. And one final thing, Jay. There were more people murdered in New York City by blacks in 1 year than the 25 years of strife in Northern Ireland. So I don't want to hear any pathetic, desperate attempts by liberals and blacks to compare uncivilized behavior on the part of blacks throughout the world.
That individual who calls himself Chris, at the end, when I pointed out to him the disparity in the statistics, John, that a very small percentage of black males accounts for almost 50% of violent crime. 12% of the population is black, 6% is male, and out of that 6%, maybe 2% are teenagers, and yet these individuals account for a very disproportionate amount of the violent crime against all people in the United States. And I don't think by denying that fact that anything is accomplished. and salting it liberally with communist propaganda in an effort to destroy the United States. And to a very large degree, Stalin and Soviet communists of the 50s and late 40s were successful in transferring their militant revolutionary ideology to many blacks here in the United States. And it is to the detriment of this country that revolutionary ideology took hold and provides a, quote, justification for the terrible, heinous, antisocial behavior of so many of these young people.
You're absolutely right.
I don't know what the solution is, John, but I can tell you the solution isn't to buy the excuses and the rationalizations for the very real lack of responsibility on the part of some of these so-called leaders and activists who are modern-day Joe Stalins and encourage these thugs to behave in the fashion that they do.
Well, they're not interested in facts. They're interested in propaganda, Jay. And while they're investigating police officers in Los Angeles, like in the O.J. Simpson case, let there be an investigation of the black detective on the New York City police force who's there despite the fact that he had 2 convictions for armed robbery as a teenager. This was just another case of needing a black face. Hey, I'm a rap singer. Thanks, Jay.
Good night. And that story being fomented in theory by the defense for O.J. Simpson is an insult to the intelligence of the American people, but unfortunately is a product of the very well-documented result that such stories can obtain in a courtroom. Now that the idea is out that, that Mark Furman planted the glove there. I mean, does anybody in their right mind really believe that this man, at the crime scene, took a glove and held it, took it back, and planted it on O.J. Simpson's property and then made believe he found it? And besides, how did Simpson's blood get all over it anyway? Does it explain everything else? But they don't have to explain anything. All they have to do is encourage in the rudimentary thinking process of many people in South Central Los Angeles, encourage in their minds the idea that, quote, the white power structure is now out to get O.J., that they are setting him up, that they are railroading him, and that will intimidate the judge and whatever jurors would be honest there, highly unlikely though that might be in the first place, to encourage those jurors and the judge to be so afraid of a riot that they will come back with a decision exculpating Simpson. On WABC, this is Jay Diamond.
I'm scared. It doesn't seem to be working for me anymore. I've lost it. No matter what I do, no matter what I say, it doesn't make a difference. Just look at these polls. All of them, with the exception of that pet grooming school in Connecticut. I'm going down the dumper.
Would you like a little advice?
What I need is...
Yes or no? Answer the question. Yes or no?
Okay, yes.
What you need, Mario, is you need a new approach, a new image. You're tired. You need new shtick. Have you tried addressing the issues, for example, in an honest and forthright manner for a change?
Are you nuts? Look, what I need is a miracle, divine intervention, not Doris Day. Is that the best idea you can come up with, Ed? I think you've been eating too much Chinese food. All that MSG's gone to your head.
Well, don't be nasty. I don't like nastiness. I'm not going to stick around here and be insulted like this. I have a friend who'll do it for, well, I'll tell you about that later. Bye!
Come on, Mario. Mario, get a hold of yourself. You've got to go out there on that stage in 5 minutes and give the speech of your life. Now, let me look in the mirror. I'm Mario Cuomo, and nobody can defeat me. I'm Mario Cuomo, and nobody can... What am I going to say, though? What am I going to say? What do you want?
I almost forgot. I always redeem my liberal credentials whenever I make an appearance. It's in my contract.
Okay, go ahead. Get it out of your system.
Okay, here goes. David Duke. Bad David Duke.
Feel better now?
Oh my, yes. You know, a day without denouncing David Duke is like a day without gun control. Bye!
and they call him the voice of reason. Now, how am I going to make my speech if I can't think of anything to say? What am I going to do?
What's the matter, mister? Cat got your tongue?
Who are you? How'd you get in here?
Ask me no question, I'll tell you no lies. Seems to me, partner, you've got some speechifying to make. But no matter what you say, they won't believe you.
That's about the size of it, old-timer. Who are you, anyway?
Well, maybe I might be of some service.
Well, at this point in the game, I've got nothing to lose, but what can you do to help me?
Help you? Oh, no, not me, mister. Not me, but a little of this will turn you into the greatest orator of the ages. One sip of this elixir will turn an ordinary person into a master of elocution. and anyone listening will be helpless to resist the power of your speech.
Anything? You mean anything I say, and they'll believe me?
That's as I say. I tell you no lies. Anything you say, and they'll all believe it.
Well, you have to excuse me if I don't believe it, old-timer. I hear some pretty tall tales in my life. In fact, come to think of it, I was the one who told most of them.
Well, maybe that's why they don't believe you anymore. If you don't believe me, if you don't believe it, take a sip. It'll work. No brag, just fact. Partner, no brag, just fact. Now, you go ahead and try it.
Just a sip, huh? All right, old-timer. Give me the bottle. I'll give it a try. Ah. My fellow Americans, 200 years ago, Tom Paine, when the colonies were trying to become a nation, said, "We have it in our power to begin the world over again." The living Americans today have fought harder, paid a higher price for freedom, and done more to advance the dignity of man than any other people who ever lived on this earth. For 200 years now, we've lived in the future, believing that tomorrow would be better than today, and today would be better than yesterday. I believe we can meet our destiny, and that destiny is to build a land here that will be, for all mankind, a shining city on the hill, and I think we ought to get at it. Wow. Listen, old-timer, I gotta have that bottle. How much do you want for it?
No charge, mister. No charge at all. Consider it a gift. But remember, whatever you say under its spell, whatever you say, the people will believe.
Well, I don't know what to say, old-timer, except, security, throw this bum out. I've got a speech to make. Take him away. Ladies and gentlemen, my privilege to introduce to you the governor of the state of New York, the Honorable Mario Cuomo. Ladies and gentlemen, members of the multicultural community, fellow guests, my opponent, George Pataki, has taken great liberties with regard to my record as the governor of this state. To his scurrilous charges of mismanagement and poor management, I would like only to say this. Excuse me, I forgot my cough syrup. I didn't take it, excuse me. Good. But again, to my opponent, I would like only to say, when you go to the polls to make that decision, it might be well to ask yourself, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? Is there more or less unemployment in the state of New York than there was 4 years ago? Is America, as well as New York State, as respected throughout the world as it was? Do you feel as safe and secure as you did 4 years ago? Somebody help me! Help me! Submitted for your approval. The wise man once admonished, be careful what you wish for that wish might come true. And if a little old man should ever offer you a sip of magic elixir, make sure you take it with an extra large grain of salt, because there are no stomach pumps in the Swachim zone.
Hi, Jay. Today I wanted to respond to a number of outrageous things I've heard in the last couple of days. First of all, the guy that was just on the line with you saying that whites are racist because they want to see O.J. found guilty. No, that caller O.J. Simpson found innocent because both he and O.J. are black. He's the racist. And did you notice, Jay, when blacks get angry, that it's called rage and justified anger. When whites get angry at the disproportionate amount of vicious black crimes being committed all over this country, we're called hateful. And he had the nerve to say to you, you don't know me. Well, he doesn't know you either. Has he ever sat down to dinner with you or talked to you in person? But yet he can make all the disparaging remarks about you whom he doesn't know.
Yeah, I mean, you think I'm a nice guy.
Yes, in many ways I do. Not to preface my remark, but
No, go ahead.
then the other day you had Carl, who was repeating the cryptic lie, the accepted lie, that our justice system is unfair to black people. And it's a double standard. Oh, there's a double standard, all right. It's in favor of blacks. And by the way, the caller who was asking before about the number of crimes committed on the part of whites against blacks, there's 2% of crime committed in the United States is white on black. And in the New York Times of December 12, 1993, a news article about Klan Watch, an organization that keeps track of racial attacks on blacks by whites, stated that a majority of the racial crimes being committed in the United States today are being committed by blacks against whites. And then we had Chris, good old Chris. He once again shifted the blame from blacks and said the reason that there's so many single black mothers and single black parents in general is because of the women's lib movement who say that they want to have children, they don't need a man to raise a child. Well, what a cutesy sidestep.